Okay guys, so once again it is time for a reptile room tour. We've not done one in a month and I actually missed last week's upload, the cause for which is going to be discussed in this video because I have actually got a massive amount to talk about this time. So without wasting any more of that time, let's get straight into it. So most of the major stuff I'll be addressing later on in this video, but I am going to be going through all of the setups sequentially like we usually do, and then I'll get to the big updates as they come along. But we're actually going to be doing this slightly out of order this time, because the major updates are with Speckles the Leopard Gecko, and I'm going to be talking about those in a little bit when I go into the other reptile room. So today we're going to be starting off instead with the tropical vivarium. The animals that I want to put in here are still unavailable to me, so it's not stocked yet, but you can probably tell that it has grown in a lot. I mean, when I got in contact with Skylight, who they're the company that make these lights, I knew that they were supposed to be good, but this is the tiny double unit, and honestly, the growth is just absolutely staggering. Before we go through it, I'll chuck up a little image if I can find one of what it was like when I first planted it, and you'll probably be able to tell already how much it's grown. But looking at it in more detail, you can see that the major growth has been with these pilea, or aluminium plants. They're the ones with the little bits of silver in the leaves. As well as that, the Vitonia there has been doing quite well. The Magravia, or Magravia, however you want to say it, sorry for the reflection there, but you can sort of see how much that has just branched up. I think it's because the tip, the very growing tip, is actually burnt. It was like that when I bought it, but that sort of worked to my advantage because it's branched out. Then the creeping fig back there, the oak leaf creeping fig, has just sent out that new runner that I'm focused in on. There's a couple going down there as well. The Neurogelia's blushed up load, sorry. The moss has gone really green. It's just, when you look at it, it's looking really, really good. So I don't want to talk all day about this tank, even though I could, because I look at it each and every day and there's something new about it. Those bulbs are just incredible. And honestly, the setup from DMS Vivaria is doing a really good job of holding the humidity in. But I don't have any other things to say about this, apart from that I'm still waiting for what I want to put in it to become available. So without spending too much time just looking at plants, let's move straight ahead onto talking about the next reptile. So what you're looking at is the Crested Gecko's enclosure. All the lighting and that's the same as last time, but there has been a bit of a change with it. I actually took out all of the bromeliads from this back corner and selected the best ones and put them back in, and then chucked the other ones away because all the substrate that was like down in that log had completely dried out and compacted, so it wasn't filling the space properly anymore, and some of them were drying out and dying, so I redid it and put some new substrate in, and it is looking really nice. This one in particular is almost blushed completely onto the Arcadia Jungle Dawn, so it is looking really good. And then, not spending all day talking about plants as well, if we look in here, you can just about see Splat. This is his favourite little coconut hide that I made for him a while ago. You can see him peeping around there. He's probably a bit annoyed, but Splat's doing really well. I'm feeding him twice a week at the minute because he's calmed down a bit for the winter. He's having one feed of Crested Gecko diet, which is mainly Arcadia's sticky foot gold once a week, and also a helping of insects. But again, I don't want to spend too long on him, so let's move straight on. So this is the part of the video when we're going to get into the really sort of complicated stuff, and that starts with Speckles the Leopard Gecko. So if you've been watching me for a while, then you'll know that I've wanted to upgrade this Exoterra enclosure for a long time because I just think it's a bit too small for Speckles the Leopard Gecko. And I've been planning a new build for ages, and I've got the new vivarium now, and it's significantly larger. There's nothing wrong with the vivarium itself, but with setting up, I've been having a bit of a problem with it that I'll discuss with you in a sec, but before we go out into the new reptile room and take a look at that, I will just take you off to have a little look at Speckles himself. I don't want to bother him too much because he is asleep at the minute, but I've just got the camera sort of awkwardly positioned with the flash on so that you can see him. He's in his hot side hide, and as per usual, he's doing really, really well. I'm feeding him only about once a week because he's maintaining his weight really, really well. I think because he's not got enough space to exercise in this enclosure. If I pan back, you can see that it's really not very big. It's the minimum size for a leopard gecko, or what people recommend, but honestly, I think it's too small for him, and that is why I'm doing him a new setup. So by the power of video editing, we are now in the other reptile room, which is going to quickly become the main reptile room. And this is Red, the cornsnakes enclosure, but we'll be talking more about this in a minute. Up above this, we now have Speckles, the leopard gecko's enclosure. Now, as you can see, it's got a sort of clay rockwork type thing that I built. There's no lighting in here yet, so I apologise if it looks a bit blurry or something on your screen. It looks okay to me for now, but just stepping back, you can maybe see why I had to miss last week's video already. It was going to be me doing this entire setup, finishing it, and I did have footage of how I built all of this, but honestly, it's just not going to work. So the first thing that held me back with making this enclosure was just literally how long everything took. Well, I'll explain what I did first. So basically all this is some plastic egg crate stuff. I've got a little bit of it down in my cupboards down here. I'll just grab it out for you. Just this stuff, and I made a sort of framework with it, and then I got some expanding foam and put it on top. I used some weed control fabric to make a surface. I let it cure, I carved it. This was taking days on its own, and I was out here in this room pretty much all day on Boxing Day, all day the day after that, and all day the day after that as well, just working on this because, I mean, I've seen lots of people do this, especially people doing dart frog enclosures tend to do similar things, but I've never done it before, and it took me absolutely ages. And then the final step is, once you've got the expanding foam, you can see a little bit of white peeping out at the bottom. That's the expanding foam once it's hardened. All you do is you put silicone over it, and then you're meant to stick substrate in it, and it'll set, and you'll end up with like a rockwork thing, or that is what I was going for. The end result, however, really was quite pathetic. It looked nothing like it did now. You could just see all the expanding foam still, and I was just really, really disappointed with it, and I was going to chuck it out, but I thought, I've used ProRep's Leo Life to cover this, and it's got lots of clay in it, so I thought, maybe if I mix it with water and just paste it on, it will harden and it'll achieve the same effect. So I spent another day pasting clay onto all of this. I mean, you might see that there's bits that look separate, and that's because I've made lids for all of this. So you can take them off, and I could get Speckles out of there if necessary. Because I carved these entrance holes to the hides and that. And that sort of looked like it was going to work, but over the past few days as it's dried, it's just cracked. And it's absolutely Baltic out here. It's like 10 degrees in this reptile room, which again is causing me other problems that I'll address in a minute. But when I've got the heater in here, this is just going to crack more and crumble off. It's already started there, so basically, this is a big fail. What I'll do instead is I'll probably just do a more standard wood and cork type setup for him, and I'll have to get rid of what is probably a week's full work on this. But, you know, it's a learning experience. We can't do things right all the time, so I'm not too worried about that. But then, an actual other problem that was an even bigger problem that set me back was to do with Red's enclosure. People have asked me in the past where I got this enclosure because it's so big, 5 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. And, well, I got it from Pro Viv Vivaria or Vivariums. And honestly, I wish that I hadn't got it, because the system for getting wires into the back is really quite poor. You've just got a little hole there, and you have to file it down with like a rasp or something just to get it big enough to get any wires in. So it's really suboptimal, and I'd actually bought Red a Habistat digital dimming thermostat over Christmas, and I put that in. But pretty much straight away, I realised that there was actually a fault with it. And so, in order to get the probe out of this enclosure, you have to have absolutely nothing on top of it, because you have to lift this entire lid up just to get the wires through, and because of that really bad system. And so, when I knew that that was faulty, I couldn't carry on with putting rocks and stuff in here, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to move it, and so that really did set me back. Of course, as well, I mentioned it being cold in here, and without a thermostat controlling the heating, what was I going to do with Red? Well, the only option that I was left with really was to move Red into another setup, and Red is in here, but it's not just as simple as it is for no reason, because Red is actually now in full brumation. So basically, brumation's like a hibernation state for reptiles. Not all of them do it. Corn snakes do it, bearded dragons do it, leopard geckos will do it. And with me being in sort of a disused garage, it does get colder in here over the winter, and the lighting schedules, like in terms of room lighting, most of it's ambient light coming in through the windows. So as it was getting into winter, both Red and Char were showing signs of, Char being the bearded dragon in here, by the way, were both showing signs of wanting to go into brumation. And I was thinking next year of putting Red into brumation, but as soon as I realised that thermostat was faulty, not majorly faulty, it was controlling the temps. It's a little bit complicated. I'm getting it fixed now as we speak, so hopefully it won't be too long till I've got it back. But I made the decision with Red's enclosure getting too cold and that it would probably be the safest for him, rather than cooling him down a bit for like a week until the thermostat's fixed, and then getting it back and heating him back up again. It would be much safer to just continue the brumation process, like he was cooling down naturally with the room getting a bit colder. I'd just cool him down by reducing the amount of hours that his lighting and heating was on each day. And then eventually he was pretty much just sleeping all the time. And now I've put him in this enclosure, where down this end it's about 5 degrees C, and this end it's about 15 degrees C, so ideal for brumation. And this is where Red is now. It's only very simple, because he's only in it until, say, March, and all the time he's going to be in here, he's pretty much going to be sleeping. It's just got a little heat mat under this end, Red's in this hide. I'm not going to take him out and bother him, because I only put him in yesterday, and he is going to be fully asleep. He's got a little water bowl in case he wants any water, and then another hide over here, and for the next 2 months, that's all he's going to need. I'm not going to feed him, not going to take him out, not going to bother him as much as I can, just weigh him here and there to make sure he's doing okay. And in the meantime, I can be fixing that thermostat in his setup. I'm going to rig something up to make the wiring better in those Vivaria, the ProViv ones, so that in the future I won't have problems like this. But honestly, at the end of all this, all the reptiles are doing well. It's just set me really back, and that is why I had to miss last week's video, which I'm sure you can now all understand. So the last little reptile that we're going to be taking a look at is Char the bearded dragon, who I did just mention in the last bit of footage. Now, if you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll know that Char had been in brumation for a month after I'd taken him to the vets. And then I'd woken him back up on the vet's orders. And he was up for a while, eating and all that. But honestly, he was getting up on my terms. Every time I'd come in, he'd go back asleep. I'd take him out like I have just done now, put him under his heater. He'd get up, run round, start head bobbing, wanting stuff to eat and that. And he was just doing really, really well. And I've sort of come to the conclusion that keeping him up although the vet said to, it doesn't really seem to be in his benefit. He's doing perfectly fine, and I think it's just going to be better for him long term to let him brumate. So what I'm doing is, just for the next sort of week, I'm going to be taking him out each day, putting him under his heat lamp so he can digest a little bit of food that he's got in his stomach. You don't want it left over in case it rots. And then at the end of the week, I might give him a little bath just to stimulate him to poo, really. And also so he can have a little bit of a hydration. And then I'll stick him back under his little hide, and he can sleep like Red will until spring. The other day, I did actually get some footage of him while he was fully awake, running around and that, so I'll stick that on for you to watch now. Just a little clip of it. I'm going to be uploading the full videos on my other social media pages, which are Instagram and Facebook, the links to which you will find in the description of this video, as well as all my others. But yeah, in those, you can really see just how well he is actually doing. So come the spring, when Char wakes up, he is actually in store for a bit of a treat. Now, you'll all know, if you've watched my videos, how much I like Arcadia Reptile as a brand for providing herptile stuff. And actually they've updated the Earth Pro line to have new packaging and stuff recently, and they've got some new adverts and that, and I commented on one of the Facebook adverts for Arcadia's Dragon Fuel, saying that I'll have to get my hands on some of this and try it soon. And actually, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just like a comment, you know. But John Courtney Smith from Arcadia Reptile actually contacted me and asked me, did I want to try some, like, for free, to review by giving it to Char and see how he responds to it. And this is what should be in this package. So I've got some scissors here, let's open it up and see the new stuff. I've already seen the adverts and that for the new Earth Pro line, so it should be good. But I haven't actually tried Dragon Fuel before, so in the spring when Char's fully awake, I'm kind of curious to see how he'll like it. It's mostly vegetable matter and that, which he is actually getting more interested in now he's getting older. But if we just take a look in here... Ooh. Well, that's definitely more than just Dragon Fuel. So I've just had a little rummage, and it looks like John has actually sent me more than just the Dragon Fuel. We've got a packet of Flower Boost here, which I haven't tried before as well. We've got a bag of Custodian Fuel. I was actually just about to order some more of that. I think I've maybe made a video about this in the past, but it is really good stuff. I didn't know that I was going to be getting any of that. We have a new bag of Calcium Pro MG, which is the calcium and magnesium supplement that they do. I've been using this for a long time now, and it is really good. Then we've also got some Earth Pro A, which is the main supplement that forms the basis of the supplementation scheme that they recommend. And then this should be the Dragon Fuel, I think. Yup, it's in a really big bag. I was expecting it to be in the little tiny bags like the Flower Boost is, but there we go. So I had absolutely no idea that John was going to be sending me all this stuff. So if you're watching this video, thank you very much for sending all of this. I've done reviews on these in the past. I'll leave a link up there if you want to watch it. I should probably do another review because over time I think that reptile videos especially get outdated because, you know, if you're at the front of this hobby, like looking at the new information, you learn so much every single day. But the custodian fuel I've done a sort of video about in the past, and these two I've never even tried before. So in the spring, say March time, 2 months, Chart is going to be straight onto all of this, I'm sure. So where does that all leave us? Well, Red is no longer in here. Char is going to be in Brumation shortly. You can just see him through the glare down there. Speckles' new setup is on hold, and you can't even see it at all now, but it's on hold until I've got the thermostat sorted for this. And basically we're just sort of stuck with the new reptile room in terms of what's going on. Hopefully Speckles' setup I can get done within the next month, but apart from that, there's not really going to be much reptile action out here for a while. But then in the old reptile room, hopefully we should be getting the inhabitants for the tropical vivarium in not too long. I do want to be doing a care guide on crested geckos. I've had that in my mind for a while. I want to do a full review on those lights from Skylight, as well as the vivarium from DMS Vivaria. And I've got plenty of other video ideas planned. I am thinking of starting to do 2 videos a week. If you've stuck around this completely rambly video until this time, you must think that something about this channel's good, so let me know what sort of stuff you want to see in the future. And from me and Char, that is pretty much it. And let's hope that this year's a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.